Hey everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Player Spotlight. Today, I'm joined by none other than King Kennet himself, Adapting, the jungler for Radiance, joining us here today. Kennet, we normally start off these interviews talking a little bit about the home life, you know, where the young SMITE pros kind of grew up. So talk to me about that. What was your living situation like growing up?
Well, I grew up in Östersund, Sweden. Pretty small town. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know what to say. Like, I grew up, I played a lot of games, I guess, growing up.
Sure.
I was like playing games. And yeah.
Did you play any like soccer or anything like that? Did you play any sports growing up?
So I didn't do too many sports. Like, I tried soccer for a bit, but I didn't like it that much. But then my dad got me a dirt bike or motocross when I was, I believe, 8 years old. And then I rode motocross for, well, growing up, basically from 8 until I started playing SMITE and became a pro in SMITE. That's when I like kind of stopped riding because I was just playing a lot of SMITE instead.
That's pretty cool. Motocross is not something that we've heard before on the Player Spotlights. Did you go to do you go to tracks for that, or do you just kind of ride around in woods, or what do you do?
Yeah, so I would go to tracks for that. We had a track that was like a 40-minute drive away from where we lived, 30-40 minutes. So we would go there. You could go up to 3 times a week, I think. I think we would go 3 times a week when my dad was home. My dad worked in Norway as a cook on a boat.
Oh, that's cool.
So when he was home, we would do motocross, and then when he wasn't home, I wouldn't be able to because we would do that together because he rode as well. And he actually made me or made us a track in our because we have some land and like a lot of forest. So he made a track for us to ride on above our house, which was super fun too.
Man, that is sick. When you say us, is it like you and your friends? Do you have any siblings that rode with you? Who was riding with you?
No, it's just me and my dad. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I had some friends from school that rode for a bit as well that we rode with sometimes, but they didn't. They quit pretty early on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like other sports, yeah.
You said your dad was a chef. Did he instill the chef in you? Are you a big cook, or did you not get that gene?
I like cooking, yeah. I enjoy it. I wouldn't say I'm like super duper into it or anything, but like I enjoy it, and like making nice food or new food feels like very rewarding, and you know, it's very fun when you make something that you really really like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been trying to add more dishes to my repertoire.
You got like a signature dish, you know? It's like, oh, I'm gonna cook something to really impress somebody. What are you making?
Maybe I would probably make beef stroganoff. I really like that dish, and I think it's very very tasty. So
yeah,
do that with some pasta.
I love beef stroganoff as well. That would be a good one. So you're riding a lot of motocross, you know, not doing quite as much soccer. You said you were playing a lot of games though. What games did you like to play growing up?
Well, I played. So Tribes is the first game I played. Tribes Star Siege, it's called.
That was the first one?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I played a bit of Tribes 2, and then Tribes Vengeance, which was the third one. But didn't play those as much. And then I played RuneScape, and then just like a bunch of like Xbox games, I guess. Didn't really get into CS or anything. But yeah, that's kind of what I played. I played a lot of games growing up, like just a lot of controller games. I like my motocross games a lot.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I could see that being a good crossover for you there. So I'm not super familiar with Tribes in its background. I know Tribes Ascend. It was made by Hi-Rez for those who don't know. It was one of the games that they made before SMITE. Is that how did you play any Tribes Ascend, and where did that kind of like fit into the overall Tribes IP, so to speak?
Yeah, I played Tribes Ascend a lot. I mean, I played it competitive at the top level, and I love that game. I still love that game. Actually, during the off time between the splits, the Tribes community like made like a custom server basically that they
Mm.
hosted. So we could play like pickup games with like a lot of the old players, which was super fun.
That is cool, man. That is the hard. I think Tribes Ascend might be the hardest game I've ever played. Like that game is it's a shooter. It's a first-person shooter for those who aren't aware, and you've got a jetpack and you've got skis, and the maps are gigantic, and it's like you have to really work with momentum and how you're supposed to hit anybody in the midst of everyone flying around is like that game feels impossible to me. I have no idea how anybody does it.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. For me, I always felt like it came naturally to me, but that's probably because I grew up playing the original Tribes.
Sure.
But they're quite different in the physics,
Mm.
in like the flying, like the way you move in the air. You have a lot
Sure.
more air control in the other Tribes, I would say, but like it's very fluent and like it's I don't know. I really like Tribes Ascent. Really,
Definitely
really
a
like
very
it.
hardcore game if you want to get out there and try a hard to play first person shooter on PC. Maybe try and hop into some of those pickup games for Tribes Ascend right there. Is that how you found out about Smite was through Tribes Ascend then?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, my teammates were talking about at the time. Then we're talking about Smite, and like there was like a lot of salt from the Tribes community about Smite because Tribes wasn't getting as much support, but realistically, Tribes probably wasn't going to get much more anyway, right? And then because Smite was like blowing up and getting so much attention, um, but they tried it out, and then they're like asked me if I wanted to try some, and I played a couple of arena games, and then I don't know, I was kind of just hooked for some reason. I don't know.
Was
Really
that
liked
was
it.
Smite your first MOBA, or did you play another MOBA before that?
I played a bit of League of Legends. I played until like I got to like level 20 or something, but
Hmm.
then I don't know, I just didn't like it enough to keep playing.
Yeah, it's definitely same genre, but pretty different games. Were you instantly a Thor main whenever you started playing Smite, or was there another god that caught your eye first?
I would basically just play whatever like someone did well in arena. So like when I started, I just wanted to play Herc because he looked like he would hit hard. So I just
Hmm.
played Herc a bunch, and then this Bakasora killed me, and then I started playing Bakasora, and then that basically the process just kept happening over and over till I like found something I liked.
So was this during beta, during season one? Like when did you start playing Smite?
Around launch tournament, I started playing 2014.
Okay.
Because it was on the new year when I decided, or like we were talking about it. So I remember after New Year's starting to play during 2014, and then catching like the launch tournament is how I started watching the competitive scene, and I was like super impressed by it. So
Is that when you started transitioning over and playing a little bit more Conquest than Arena?
oh no, I started playing Conquest like after like a month in, I would say,
Okay.
regularly, and then I started like playing ranked. But yeah, no, I just started playing more and more ranked, I would say.
Were you on a team season one? I'm not super, I'm usually pretty familiar with NA players' backstories, but the minor league teams in Europe, I'm usually a little bit more fuzzy on. Were you playing on a team at all in season one, or were you just slamming ranked queues?
I got picked up for I5. If you
Hmm.
remember that team.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I played for that team for like 3 weeks, I think, before because it was at the end of like the SWC qualifiers, whatever they were called at the
Hmm.
time, or EU qualifiers, I think what they were called, and we were very close to making it to the LAN, but we ended up losing to SK, I think,
Mm.
which was for the decider of who goes to LAN. And
Right.
then after that, basically just disbanded, and then I joined Potato Boys for the rest of that year. And then after that is obviously when I switched to what then became Epsilon slash Panthera slash Energy.
Yeah, the Panthera days is I think where when you really kind of entered the map for everybody. It's often said that Raffer kind of put that Panthera team together. Do you remember how that whole thing started?
Well, it was Emil and Raffer that like they approached me, and then that was with like optics as well on the original
Mm.
roster. And I think Sayo was one of the
Mm.
like original members too. But yeah, I don't know. Things like shuffled around, and then uh, me, Emil, and Raffer kind of thought of like who to replace Optics with and who to get for solo. So we got Dimmy and Yamin in the end.
How quickly did you think that you guys had something pretty special there with those 5?
I think I don't know, like I wasn't sure how good we were gonna be. I just thought that like, oh, like I want to play, like this place seemed pretty good. Like I think we can do well. Like I didn't know that we were gonna do as well as we did. I was just hoping like hopefully we'll be good enough to make lands. And then as we started like winning more in SPL, I was like, okay, I actually think we might have a chance at like Worlds as well. But yeah.
I mean, that season 2, we basically have to throw out your stats from that year because otherwise they mess with the curve of everybody else's stats over a full season. Like every single one of your players, specifically your especially, like kills, KDA, player damage per minute, all that kind of stuff. If we look at career numbers, every single Energy, Epsilon, whatever member is their numbers are just insane from that season 2 run. I mean, what did it feel weird to be dominating that hard? Did you feel like that, you know, things were going to go differently at any given time, or did you expect to continue to dominate in that way?
I'm not really sure what I expected. I just knew like if it felt good and it was super fun, so like I was enjoying it a lot and like things were going well and I just wanted it to keep going well. So I was trying to do my best to stay on that path.
What was the what was it like going from, you know, starting SPL, you know, everyone's starting to recognize your name, to by the end of the season it was, oh, you know, AdaptKIng is probably the best player in the world right now. What was that type of pressure change like in such a short amount of time? Did you notice it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it, but like I liked it, you know, like I definitely liked it. I think anyone in the league probably likes being highly regarded. So,
sure.
I mean, I just wanted to try and live up to those expectations, right? And if anything, I wanted to try and like blow past them as well, you know.
Yeah.
Always try to set a high bar for myself.
Did you buy into them? Did you think you were the best player in the world then?
Well, like, it's hard to say like that. Like, I had so much respect for other players,
Sure.
and like I still do, right? But like, I just felt like if I could beat that player on that given day, then I would feel like, okay, now I was the best for that day at least. And like, yeah, I'm just trying to have the confidence of it, but then also like not be like, oh, I'm unbeatable, I'm unstoppable or whatever, right? Like you have to realize that you can be beaten, and that yeah, you just have to do your best to if you want to try and be at the top.
Was season 2? You guys weren't first seed going into Worlds, right? Didn't you guys lose at placements that or super regionals that year? And weren't you guys second seed, or was that season 3? I remember one of those years you guys came in as second seed.
Season 2, we were first seed coming into super regionals, but then we lost super regionals to Paradigm, I think they were called.
That's right. Yep.
Back then.
Was that a wake-up call for you guys?
Well, it was interesting. Didn't really expect to lose that land, to be honest. Because we had such a good record in fall split as well. We're like 27-1. Our only loss, I actually remember our loss because we had like a bug at the Gold Fury, which, I mean, it's not the only reason why we lost, right? But
sure,
it was a bit heavy contributor. I just remember that game because we had to like go back to the spectator, etc. to watch it back. Anyway, I mean, it wasn't. I'm not sure if it was a wake-up call. It just kind of showed us like what we needed to polish and like how to better prepare for Worlds, right? Like losing that in hindsight might have been better for us than if we won it. You never know, because like when you lose, you just take it so much more like serious and learn a lot more usually.
Sure. And it set you guys up for the matchup that everyone was kind of expecting to be finals, which was you guys versus Cloud9, to happen in the semifinals instead of the actual finals. That I still think to this day is probably the most anticipated matchup we've ever had in Smite, because that was when NA and EU were still separate. Cloud9 was pretty clearly one of the best teams in North America, if not the best. You guys were clearly the best team in Europe. How excited were you to play in that set, and what do you remember from playing it?
Oh, I was so excited. I really wanted to play against them. Like, I was a super big fan of NA at the time as well, like watching all the NA plays and like how different it was. But like I had so much respect for all the NA players, and I was super excited to play against them and like play against Andister, because he was kind of like one of the main reasons I got into jungling in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, I was just super pumped, and like playing against them was so different to playing like against the EU teams, because the way they played around the map, and especially like when they were behind, they were so good at like choosing these trades and like the split pushing. Like back then, even today, like split pushing can be difficult to deal with when you've not properly set up for it.
Yep.
But like they would just do the split push, and we wouldn't really know how to like respond fast enough, because it's just never happened to us like to that level where they were just sending like people split pushing, and then if you try to like match it, they would just ult to the other side and just stop pushing there. And then like, yeah, so that game one was like crazy to lose. And then as the set progressed, like we just realized that we just had to have characters that we can fight them with, so that they can't just like invade us and take our stuff, or yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
was super
remember one play, the play I remember the most, besides Yemen's rotation to duo game 5, that basically ended it really early, was when it was a split push moment when they were pushing down. I think it was your solo side tier 2, and I think you went to defend, and they Yanis ulted through to like leave, and then looped around and killed you when you expected them to have left. And I was like, that blew my mind as a viewer, that the teams could like think that far ahead. It just was like, that set lived up to expectations, which is actually impossible when you think about how hyped up that set was. How good did it feel to win that set? Did you feel like you had that Worlds in the bag after beating Cloud9?
Yeah, actually, like, I don't think you should never like think ahead, right, and be like, okay, like we won Worlds, like, but it felt like it. Like,
yeah,
we felt like, okay, we just beat the best team here, so
yeah,
that must mean that we are now the best. And then going in, so I was super confident going against enemy. Like, obviously not still showing them a lot of respect and preparing and everything, but like, no, I felt great. And C9 definitely was the most difficult team we'd played at the time.
Winning Worlds in maybe not exactly your first year playing competitive, but pretty soon after you had just started playing competitive in the grand scheme of things. What was that feeling like? I mean, was it what you expected? What winning Worlds would feel like?
I don't know. Like, it definitely felt amazing. Like, it's unreal. Like, thinking back to it, like I still think back to it every now and then when like I get reminded. I don't know. It's just great memories to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels unreal. I can't really explain it. It's hard to describe something like it, but it was like I felt so like achieved, and like I'd accomplished exactly like my dreams, basically. Like I never would have expected to actually win Worlds, like, but then it actually happened, and it just felt like a dream.
What was your parents' reaction whenever you were going to go and travel and play in these tournaments? Like, were they supportive of you pursuing Smite as a big thing? Were they a little skeptical at first?
I think they were a bit skeptical before I got into the scene, or like before like we actually started making like the lands, etc. But I just told them that like I was gonna try it, and if it didn't work out, I could just go to uni and like the start of like the next year or whatever. So it wouldn't really be too much of a big deal. It would just be like a break period, if anything, then. But no, they were supportive of it, and they have been since, and especially like after we won Worlds, like they've been super supportive, and been watching our matches all the time, etc.
Yeah, that's awesome. Season 3 begins. I mean, obviously the defending world champs have a ton of pressure, but you guys, I think, probably felt even more having such a dominant Season 2. What do you remember about all of season 3, the kind of energy saga there. Do you remember feeling that type of pressure, or did you just feel like we only care about Worlds and everything else is just kind of a formality before that?
No, there was definitely a massive amount of pressure on us as a team. That was like different to having like the pressure on you as a player, I would say.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, like it was a lot of pressure, and I think the way we dealt with it was trying not to care too much, like going into the tournaments. Like, I'm not actually sure. I don't know, like obviously we must have been like quite far ahead of everyone else at the time, but um, we didn't really super mega like try hard or like prepare for everything. Like I can remember going into DreamHack and we barely even did picks and bans or anything like that. We were just trying to have fun and relax. And then we're like, yeah, whatever happens, this tournament happens. Like we'll try our best to win, but that's kind of the approach we had for every tournament that year up until Worlds. We just kept winning. I remember Epsilon Invitational we didn't even practice for really. We went early so that we could explore Atlanta and have fun. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's just how we dealt with the pressure, just trying not to take it uh, too serious and like just relax and enjoy it more than anything. And I think that
Yeah.
worked in our favor.
I think it did too. I mean, obviously a very good season 3 for you guys, and then you go into Worlds as again a favorite to repeat. Excuse me. Did you feel like that you guys had a really good chance to repeat? Did it feel like you did in season 2, where you felt like you had a good shot?
It was the most nervous I've ever been for a tournament by far, I would say. Like going into Worlds, because the meta was so crazy and like the way things were going in scrims was like so insane. Like there was so many different starts. There was so many different like with not just like characters and stuff, but like with the items, the way you could invade or the way you could avoid an invade, or like was so many different ways to play the game. And like in scrims, people like half the scrims, people were like wiping before minions even spawned. Like that was seriously how you practice before Worlds, was trying to find like a comp where like you could just kill them before they could even enter your side of the jungle,
Yep.
and it was crazy. Um, so yeah, and I was just scared of like teams maybe like finding like some cheese or something that like we wouldn't really know how to deal with. But yeah, I don't know. Wasn't sure what was gonna happen at Worlds, to be honest. Just try to win, basically. Yeah, as always.
And then season 3, you run into Bera and Jeff and the boys again, but this time no one expected them to meet up with you guys. And again, it ends up being one of your more difficult sets of the tournament. What do you remember about that LG team in the match against them?
Well, they played really well. Um, I don't know. That was a weird set. I just remember like a lot of things that like felt like they shouldn't happen were just happening, and like things would go right for us, but then like we would do something wrong. I remember like making some misplays myself that like cost a huge amount of time or like maybe even game. Um, I don't know. That was a weird set. I feel like we played pretty bad in that set against them. Um, Not to discredit them though, like they obviously did
Sure.
very well.
Yeah, I don't think
But
anyone would be upset with LG's performance overall, but just based on the expectations going
yeah,
into
yeah,
that LAN. You guys end up against Obey Alliance, if I remember correctly. You guys hadn't you been scrimming against one another a whole lot before Worlds?
yeah. We were like scrim teams, I guess, right? Because
Yeah.
were we the only EU teams there? I don't know. It was.
There weren't a lot of EU teams there that year, I think.
I just
And
yeah.
Obey
I
was one of
don't.
the only ones. What did you feel like that game was weird? I mean, going up against a team that you had practiced so much against and in the biggest set of the entire year.
No, I mean it was kind of expected because I remember just thinking we were so far ahead of the meta in EU for that world,
Hmm.
and so I was expecting that like if we made it to finals, we would probably be up against Obey.
Mm.
So like that was always in the back of my mind, I guess. But yeah, I was just trying to take it one game at a time, obviously.
Was there any point when you were watching Harry just pop off and kill everybody that you were like, I don't know if we can beat this guy? That was one of the most Herculean one-player efforts we've seen in the SPL.
That was crazy. I remember like him just killing everyone and like getting picks and like just it was insane how well he played. Like I don't know. I just thought that like as long as he doesn't get like go like 20-0 and just kill everyone constantly, we probably win because I feel like it was going well otherwise.
Yeah, I think I think you're right to remember it that way because that's pretty much how I saw it as well. What felt better, winning Worlds the first time or the second time?
First time, definitely. The second time also felt amazing, of course. Like it felt incredible. Like it's just a dream come true again, right? But
maybe
I don't know. The first time is just slightly different, I guess, because it's
maybe a little bit more relief for the second time than excitement.
Actually, yeah. That's kind of what it felt like a bit too. Yeah, a bit relief in a way, which is almost what happens as well. Like when we had that streak, right, and we were like winning, it felt more like of a relief than like an excitement at points.
Yeah.
For the tournament, but
I think that makes a lot of sense.
It was unreal. I really wanted to win. Well, obviously, really wanted to win Worlds again, but
of course, it's a little bit of a different feeling the second time around. Energy in really, I guess we can kind of speed up a little bit through seasons 4, 5, and 6 because the expectations have really followed you as a player your whole career because you started off on the best individual performances of a team that we'll ever see again in the SPL. I don't think we'll ever have a team dominate like you guys did in season 2. The competition is just too high these days. Do you still feel that pressure to be the King Kennet that everyone kind of maybe grew up watching or remembers from back in the day? Do you feel that sort of pressure today?
I mean, it's probably the same for me always, right? Like I always want to try and be the best and like live up to expectations, and like as I said, like my expectations are also higher than what other people have of me even still. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been trying. I just think that like it's been more difficult for me. I feel like my interest in the game has like declined a lot since back in those days. So I don't know. It's been hard for me to like be as motivated as I feel like I should be. And then like there are times where like I get spikes in motivation, which is usually around like these kind of times when I like playoffs for lands, etc. And I usually start playing a bit better then. I feel like I'm not really which like I start matching more of my like expectations of what I think I should be playing like rather than just playing a bit under them sometimes.
Yeah, I think the big thing is so many players. I mean, you, Raffer, Yemen, Emil, and Dimi are the only ones who have ever experienced winning Worlds back to back and being that type of, feeling that type of emotion and being able to achieve 2 World Championship victories. And so oftentimes I ask, I ask guys like Aurora or something like that, what do you have left to prove in your career? What are you really fighting for at this point? And oftentimes it's, we want to match the energy guys. We want to be able to say we've won 2 World Championships just like them. For you now that you're playing separate from that team, is it that you want to be the only one to have 3 rings? Is that really what you're chasing at this point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to be the first 3-timer. I feel like as the years progressed, like there's going to be more people who's going to have, or there's going to be more 2-time world champions because the community isn't that big, and it's just bound to happen that other people are probably going to win more than once, unless like other competition shows up. But yeah, no, I mean, that's been my goal to try and get the 3rd ring for sure.
How many more chances do you envision giving yourself on that? You said your interest is waning. I'm not asking you to tell me, you know, what your overall game plan is, but have you considered how long you want to keep playing?
I mean, the plan is for this to be my last year in the SPL at least, and then maybe next year, maybe I'll try and like do like SEC, but I kind of wanna start progressing my other parts of life. I feel like I've committed a lot of time to Smite, and I've loved every part of it. Like, it's been amazing, but at the same time, I want to start progressing the other stages of life, and you know, maybe I can play Smite in on the side. But my interest in the game, I also feel like, is kind of hindering me from playing to my best, because I just don't enjoy the game as much anymore. And I feel like you kind of have to love it to really be doing your best. And I do at times love it, but then there's times where like it just doesn't feel that enjoyable to me, which, I mean, maybe I just need a break, you know, like maybe if I take some time off, it will revitalize me, and maybe I'll come back, you know, wanting more. But
Sure.
that's my plan for now. So hopefully this one last shot is gonna be a good one.
Absolutely. What are some of the things you're looking forward to doing post Smite? You know, those areas of life you want to advance.
Looking forward into studying and, you know, just educating myself a bit more, and I don't know, trying a bit out of real life more, because I've not really gotten to experience any of it, to be honest, since I went straight into Smite after school. But yeah, just like, I don't know, I want to get my own apartment, or like maybe a house or whatever, and like get a car, and like kind of start getting ready to like settling down, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure everyone understands it's been an unbelievable career for you, and I can't wait to see what this year in the SPL brings and what the future holds for you, man. Thanks so much for the time, as always. Got any shout-outs before we let you go?
Shout outs to you, shout outs to all of the Smite, you know, pro like community, sorting everything out, like all the casters, everyone at the production, to all the viewers, to my parents, to my fiance, all the fans. Yeah, you're all amazing. Thank you so much.
Man, I just sat down with Scary and did our player interview there. He gave me a shout out. Now I get a shout out from Kennet. Like, oh, day made. Appreciate you guys as always. Thanks everyone for watching at home as well. Make sure you give it a like and let us know down in the comments below who you want to see on the next episode of Player Spotlight.